The Jordan Poole experiment is failing badly. Originally, when the Wizards were able to acquire Jordan, in my opinion and in the opinion of a lot of others, this was a significantly good move for them. They were able to bring in a young player that had a ton of potential going forward without needing to give up all that much in exchange. And although Jordan has put up pretty good individual numbers with Washington, in my opinion there's a couple of reasons for why I don't think this experiment is working out whatsoever so far. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy Sports. I make opinionated NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. I also want to quickly mention that I recently started up an MMA channel, and if you guys are interested in that, the link will be in the description. But anyways, let's get into it. Originally, when Jordan Poole joined the Golden State Warriors, there was a lot to like about this guy. He was a guy that had a lot of offensive ability, and although in his first 2 seasons with Golden State, he wasn't the player that we all know today, at the same time, it was pretty clear that he was making improvements season after season, and there was the potential and chance that this guy could be a pretty good offensive player and a real mainstay of Golden State's rotation. And in his 3rd season, that's where Jordan completely lived up to those expectations. As in year 3 with Golden State, he ended up averaging 18 points per game on 3.4 boards and 4 assists. Just an incredible season for anybody, but especially for a guy who was as young and as new to the NBA as Jordan Poole was. And in that 3rd season with Golden State, it was pretty clear that Jordan made some significant improvements. At that point, not only was he a lot more efficient with his scoring ability, but he was also significantly more diverse. When you looked at Jordan's game during that year, it was pretty clear that he had a really nice ability to shoot that 3-point jump shot. Not only did he have the ability to hit that catch and shoot 3-point jumper, but he also had the ability to cross over, sidestep, and step back from that range. And on top of that, he also had a really nice ability to shoot from extremely deep range as well. But besides his 3-point shooting ability, he also had a really nice mid-range game, whether you talk about the one dribble pull-up, post turnaround fadeaway, crossover, sidestep, step back, or even that catch and shoot mid-range jumper. Jordan just had it all within his game. But driving all the way to the basket, this was also another aspect of his game that he was very effective in, as Poole had a really nice ability to finish around the basket with crafty layups, either his left or right hand, but also had a great ability to finish through contact and get N1 finishes as well. And on top of both of those abilities, Jordan even had enough athleticism and enough size to get some posterizing finishes at times as well. And overall, when you looked at Jordan's individual scoring ability from top to bottom at all 3 levels, it was pretty clear that this guy was just one of those players that were extremely talented offensively and probably were only going to get better as time progressed. And that statement definitely did hold true, as the season following that, Jordan bumped his numbers up across the board to 20 points per game on 2.7 boards and 4.5 assists. Now, although Jordan was starting to have a lot of success at the NBA level and he was starting to put up phenomenal statistics, there was an issue that was starting to arise. And that issue was his overall basketball IQ. As although he was doing a great job at scoring relatively effectively, there were certain moments at times and sometimes in inopportune times where Jordan would just take very poor shots from deep 3-point range or just have a poor shot selection in general, and it was starting to cost the Warriors certain games. And this is something that we see sometimes with very talented young offensive players. Early on into their careers, they tend to take poor shots, but as their careers do progress, you fully expect and you fully hope that they would start to learn from some of those issues and start to improve in that department. But when you looked at Jordan Poole's case, it definitely was a little bit concerning, the nature of some of the shots he was taking. And in my opinion, due to that factor and also due to the fact that he had a contract extension coming up pretty soon, the Warriors decided to move on from him and he ended up going to the Washington Wizards. And as I mentioned before in the video, at the time I thought this was a phenomenal move for Washington. They were moving on from a guy in Chris Paul that they probably weren't going to hold on to anyway, and they were bringing in a very young player that has shown to be a very good offensive player in the NBA so far, and of course was probably only going to get better with time. But after playing a handful of regular season games with Washington, there's a couple of reasons that would lead me to believe that the Jordan Poole experiment just isn't working out all that well in Washington, at least at this point. And the first reason that I want to touch upon for why I feel this way is his shot selection. So I mentioned before, in those 2 seasons that he broke out with the Warriors, he definitely was dealing with poor shot selection. But in Washington, it's got significantly worse. At this point, I think he feels that the Washington Wizards are his team and they're not a team that's expected to win, so I think it gives him even more leeway and more opportunity to take poor shots and not have all that many repercussions for it. Because at this point, we've seen countless videos of him taking poor shots, having teammates wide open, but deciding to take poor shots by himself, and it's just not a formula for success. Because even though when you look at his statistics, they actually are very good, as he's averaging 18 points per game on 1.8 boards and 3.7 assists, at the end of the day, they're just empty stats. Because when you look at the Wizards' record, they have a 1-5 record on the season, which of course is horrible. And although going into the season, nobody expected the Wizards to be all that good, and basically nobody expected them to make the playoffs, at the end of the day, when you have a guy that's taking extremely poor shots consistently, not passing to his teammates all that much, and your team's record is 1-5, of course that's going to be a problem. Because basically all Jordan is doing at this point is setting bad habits. Because if you actually want to win, your star players or one of your better players cannot be playing like this. And if Jordan continues to play like this, the Wizards or whatever team that he ends up going to aren't going to be all that good, and he's just going to be putting up empty statistics. But with all that being said, the question at this point is, do I think Jordan will be able to get out of this habit, and do I think he'll be able to be a successful player going forward? Well, I definitely do think so. I think it's pretty clear that he has a lot of talent within him. A lot of talent offensively, as I mentioned before. He's able to do so many different things at a really high level. And if he's able to figure out that shot selection issue that he definitely does have, I think he can be a really good and a really successful player going forward down the road. And as I mentioned before, there have been a bunch of examples of young players that have similar offensive skill sets to Jordan, and eventually as their careers did progress, they got better in that department. So that is something that at this point I fully would expect. As the years do progress with the Wizards or with whatever team Jordan ends up going to, I think he's going to eventually start to get a little bit better season after season in the shot IQ department. And hopefully in 2 or 3 seasons from now, we'll be having a completely different discussion when it comes to Jordan Poole. And if he is able to improve in that department pretty significantly, then I once again would think the trade for Jordan Poole for Washington would be a very successful one. But at this point going forward throughout the rest of this season, he definitely needs to work on that aspect a little bit more and try to play a little bit more of a better brand of winning basketball. But I will say I am extremely excited to see what happens not only for Jordan Poole, but also for the Washington Wizards throughout the rest of this season. Because although I don't necessarily think they have enough talent on the roster to make the playoffs, I hope for their sake they're able to get at least a little bit better and be a little bit more competitive against a lot of other teams in the league this season. And hopefully going forward from here, they can make some good draft picks and they can just continue to build off the season and just get a little bit better and better as the seasons do progress. But I guess only time will tell what does end up happening for not only Jordan Poole, but also for the Washington Wizards. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think the Jordan Poole experiment has been successful so far, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these 2 videos popping up now. And until the next time, peace out, guys.